Real quick before this video starts, I got a bone to pick with these devs. What are we doing with this new Squirrel Girl skin? What is this? What freaky ass level 1000 hentai mouth gooner thought it was a good idea to bring this to the game? Not only is this skin deeply disturbing, but you just know for a fact that there's probably hundreds of lobotomites that'll spank the sperm giver to this. There's been 3 seasons and we have yet to get a single battle pass Bucky skin. And instead, NetEase is so lost in the goon sauce that they're attaching the apothecary servant from Shadows of Evil to this ugly ass character's tail. Alright, rant over. Enjoy the intro. Marvel Rivals is possibly the world's most sexually themed video game, right behind family breeding. And as I came to terms with accepting the fact that one of my favorite video games has achieved such a title, I got to pandering. There's 40 heroes in this game now as of season 3. Of these 40 characters, which ones give off alpha top vibes, and which could be placed with the beta bottom givers? Y'all know how this works by now, so let's get started with the newest addition to the roster, being Jean Grey. I don't think there's a single soul in the solar system that thinks this sunny señorita could be classified as a bottom. The second you get into bed with this woman, she's pressing her ultimate button and diving straight onto your fat ass. The only con I can see about sleeping with Mrs. Grey is that it'll probably feel like you have a severe STD once you wake up due to the fire on her phoenix that attached itself to your penis. But don't be worried, because if Freddy Krueger can still use his dong, then there's no reason you shouldn't be able to too. Jean Grey is a definite top. Ultron's the type of clinker to act all big and tough around the ruds, robot hose, and secretly like being called a good boy bot. There's probably been multiple instances of Ultron's mom busting into his room to deliver his mac and cheese clanks, and instead of being greeted with a warm welcome and a thank you, she's endowed with the sheer horror of her grok ass looking son keeled over trying to swallow his own nuts and bolts. It's like Megan Fox and Optimus Prime. Optimus can act all tough and intimidating, but when it gets down to it, Megan's giving him a pagan. Zestron's going in bottom. Now when it comes to Loki, I could sit here and harp on how submissive he sounds with that zesty ass voice, but I feel he is way too power hungry to be classified as a bottom feeder. Like, this dude's entire shtick is him trying to be this almighty god and outshine his superior in every way brother. And typically people who share the same main character wannabe trait that Loki has are actually closeted rod receivers. But I reckon Loki's too insecure to be the bun of any hot dog, even if it's what he actually wants. And also, bro is low-key packing with that new summer skin, so I guess I gotta give him top. Not like that, you gay fucks. Next up is every man-child's favorite white boy. Now I'm not sure which Spider-Man Peter's based off of in Marvel Rivals, but so long as he isn't based off of my glorious Tobey Maguire, he's gonna land himself an abrupt bottom tier. Cause you just know after a long day of shooting webs on innocent super terrorists, Peter needs a way to release his built-up web in a way that doesn't require too much physical effort. So he resorts to letting Mary Jane yoink out the old bad dragon and explore the spider caverns like she's in a Minecraft mineshaft trying to dig through all the spider webs and destroy the cave spider spawner, which in this case I guess would be his prostate. So unfortunately, or fortunately depending on how you look at it, PD Boy is staying in bottom tier. But you know who's not going in bottom tier? Peter's older, bulkier, balder, more beefy brother Venom. Now you see, I'm willing to bet my entire life savings, which isn't very much but it sounds dramatic, that you as a Gooner Rivals player have experienced the act of Venom pouncing on your little submissive 200 HP support hero and resizing your metaphorical hole. Venom gives off petrifying levels of top energy. If I were to make a tier list on who gives off the biggest grapist vibes, Venom would get his own tier above S. He is a moralist, mole rat, leukemia patient looking man, and for that, he's getting a top. Now if your memory is able to flash back a good minute and a half, you may recall when I mentioned how superior Thor is to his little bratty brother. And although this statement definitely still stands, what the fuck dude, my ear is ringing. Can you get tinnitus from blasting gay porn on full volume all day? And although this statement definitely still stands, I low-key forgot how ancient Thor was in this game. I sometimes forget I'm looking at the god of thunder and instead think I'm gandering at literally God himself with his old ass. And that's got me thinking, would God be classified as a top or a bottom? Has God ever even laid pipe? Thor's old and low-key chopped in this game, but I genuinely see no instance in which Thor's not rearranging the root canal, so he's getting a top. Now I'm gonna keep this next one short and sweet to hopefully not put the image of the Thing slamming his rocks onto your fragile body. The only action Ben could ever realistically get is a blowjob from one of the founding fathers at Mount Rushmore. Maybe if Marvel could get the rights to Medusa, then Ben would finally be able to prove his stance on the subject. So this is just a shot in the dark, but I'm gonna plop Mr. Grimm into top tier. Speaking of a shot in the dark, you're gonna get shot in the face and only see darkness if you refuse to be Black Widow's bottom bunk. Cause there ain't no way a woman with such a fat ass and as badass as Widow is gonna sit all submissive like and let some side character pierce her abdomen. Nah, she's gonna charge up her railgun and turn you into the real life version of that train going into the tunnel gif. BW is a painful top. Next up is Peni Parker, and the only people calling Peni a top are at the top of the FBI's most wanted list. And the only people calling her a bottom are the types of dudes who enjoy digging in their butts in public and feel no shame. So she's going in Chris Hansen tier. Speaking of shame, I'm ashamed to admit that I'd let Iron Fist make me his cheaper town hall any day of the century. Iron Fist the type of guy to turn your ball sack into a boxing speed bag, and by the time he's done, your nuts will look like the big red balls from Wipeout. Damn bro, that just reminded me of how peak Wipeout on the Wii was. Am I getting old? Should I start worrying about cashing out my 401k and gambling my future children's college fund? Maybe just the last part. The Fister gets top tier. Doctor Strange is a bottom, and let me explain to you why. In order for the doc to be in the right headspace when he's overseeing all the world's different possibilities, he needs some cheap dopamine that requires minimal energy. So he opts to sitting in his zen position and letting his companion shoot mayo through his onion ring. You may be disturbed by this method, but don't knock it till you try it a few hundred times. The doc is getting a bottom. On the opposite scale of Strange, we got Storm. And you see Storm releases her goon prune juice in a different way. She turns into a category 5 tornado and rips the life out of her lovers with her wind. Did you know Storm's tornado is canonically just a giant queef cloud that gradually grows as she gets closer to climax? And the only reason you die when you enter her tornado is because queefs are strictly a vagina thing, and you couldn't even imagine being near a vagina? The only benefit I could see as to being a bottom for Storm is that your balls will be cleanly shaven when you're done, due to the wind ripping the hair follicles off at 150 miles an hour. And then you wouldn't have to worry about nicking your huge dong while shaving your tickle scrotum. I don't really know what I'm talking about right now. Storm's going in top. Next up is Mr. Banner, and Bruce takes me as the type of guy to dress up in some expensive silk pink painted bodysuit and lather his chocolate starfish in baby oil in preparation for a Minecraft Enrod to enter his tunnel. Hulk, on the other hand, would tear up any molecule of a dooney he can get his hands on. Since we're on a bit of a Minecraft trend right now, let's just say that the aftermath of Hulk entering your back door would leave your cheeks looking like a magma block mixed in with some crying obsidian. But instead of the obsidian crying those purple tears, there will be white tears dribbling down your leg. Hulk is an unfortunate top, and if you ever have a sexual encounter with this man, call this number for support. Have y'all ever had an interest in having sexual relations with a tree? Maybe you're a certified tree hugger and you want to take your loneliness to the next level. Well, look no further than GROOT. So long as you don't mind using tree sap as lubricant, GROOT will give you the sappiest toppy you could ever dream of receiving. And notice how I said receive there. I said that because this fellow is almost certainly a dom top. I mean, Dom Toretto did voice him at one point after all. Next up is Hela. Now listen guys, if you've ever been with a goth girl, then you'd know that they're always doppelgangers. I myself have been with many goth women. It doesn't make a difference if they're AI or not. Here's another fun fact for you. Did you know that the balls of which Hela uses in her ultimate are actually the sperm spheres of every man she slept with, that she removed after they violently passed away from the expulsion of every piece of matter from their dongle due to how intense a gooning session with Hela is? That's how top-coded this bitch is, so top tier is where she's headed. Hawkeye's the type of basement dweller to use his arrow as a dildo. The only thing this Huckleberry's topping is the top 10 list of the biggest virgins. If Hawkeye were to fuck a fly, he'd still be on the receiving end of the Amazon position in the blink of an eye, simply due to how big of a pussy he is. I don't know why, but ever since I saw this skin, I can't help but make fun of this fella. He just reeks of a geek with that goober ass physique. He seems very Monique, so he's going in the tier that starts with a B. Next up is Big Johnny, and just like with Mrs. Gray, Human Torch will leave your bumhole looking like my Weber grill after an all-weekend cookout. You know how when we all let our poop crust and it starts to get flaky? Well, after Johnny taps you from the back, you're gonna have different kinds of flakes to worry about, like chocolate charcoal ones. And unfortunately, I don't think him being a bottom's gonna save you either, because the second you stick the tip in, your mushroom's gonna look like a perfectly cooked campfire marshmallow. Which, by the way, if you're not burning the shit out of your marshmallows to the point where they look like a literal piece of coal, then what's the point in even cooking those muffs in the first place? Burnt marshmallows slap harder than my dad does after I move the flashlight by a single nanometer after he tells me to hold it still. Johnny's going in top. Now I'm not gonna lie, Magneto's probably a bottom, simply due to how long he's been on this earth. This man is 95 years of age. He's most likely done every known position there is, and doesn't care to put in the work of being a top anymore. This dude probably pulls more bitches than Johnny Sins has throughout his entire career. Sex is like a cigar to him, but instead of him sucking in tobacco, he suckles some knockers from down below. Magneto's magnum dong gets a bottom. When I ask you who you think the most notorious top is in Marvel Rivals, who would that be? Since you can't say me, your next answer would probably be Emma Frost. This is one of the only characters other than the Hulk who physically injects their dominance into their victim by slamming you into the ground with more force than your mom emits whenever she attempts to tiptoe. Whenever you see a woman with thighs as thick as Groot's entire torso, you know you're in for a rude awakening, and you also know your meat's gonna be awakening. So to the surprise of no one, Emma's getting a top. Captain America's a man I really do not muck with that much, as you all know. But I must admit, he do be built like a double-wide surprise, triple-cheeked up guy who could definitely rock some thigh highs if he so tried. And there's many men who aspire to be like Cap, and admire his alpha male American attire. He would save another being in need without even needing to breathe. And I know for a fact that if he were to breed, he'd proceed to watch the other person drop to their knees and cheer with glee. Cause he's the Dom, E, and there's no one that could disagree. So Cap's going in T. For top. And you know who else is going in top? The mother fluffing Wakanda himself. As much as I want to punch a hole the size of one of the moon's craters into my monitor every time I get my ass cheeks folded by a Black Panther, I can't help but get a little chubbed up due to how fluid he moves and how smooth his attacks are. If this dude's walking animation didn't make him look like an evil villain plotting to steal my wheelchair-bound grandmother's home-baked cookies, then I could praise him even more. But that just kinda gives me the ick. Nonetheless, he's still a very worthy occupant of the top tier. Next up is Wanda, and I'm gonna speedrun this right quick. With a jawline as razor sharp as Wanda's, and with drip as tsunami forming as Eastern Japan, it would only make sense for Wanda to be a top. I guess you could say she would deliver some pure chaos in the bedsheets. Easy top tier. I'm gonna swiftly start this next section off by giving Squirrel Girl the tier of the tops as well, but not for the reason you'd think. You see, Squirrel Girl could never be a bottom, because the only people who are foolish enough to fool around with this furry's phalanges are so astronomically brain-rotted that their cognitive functions physically do not work, meaning they don't have the mental capacity to be able to get on top of this monstrous woman and give her fur basket a 5-finger death punch. So instead they just resort to laying down like a corpse and role-playing necrophilia for a solid 5 minutes, until that guttural stench that exudes from Doreen's body becomes so overbearing that they genuinely die, and it becomes real necrophilia. So remember, kids, don't fuck with furries. In a literal standpoint. In terms of Star-Lord, I just kind of see his Marvel Rivals version as a bit of a loser. Like, his voice lines are a bit cringe, his character design is too vibrant, he doesn't strike much mystery, he just gives off normal guy in a super suit type vibes, which I guess that is technically his character. Just a basic dude. So nothing's leading me to believe that he wouldn't want to be used as a rowboat behind closed curtains. He's going in bottom. Next up is the shark, and let's be 100% honest. Jeff would demolish any other shark in the sea he may pass. This dude would be a freak in the seaweeds. You know a brother's mouth game is strong when he can swallow up to 11 people at once without even breaking a sweat. Thinking about that, do sharks sweat? If they do, you know damn well Jeff be sweating his ass off with all that chumosy he's chewing. Easy top tier. When it comes to Mantis and whether or not she's a top, I think it really just depends on the day and what person she's seducing, cause she can manipulate any person's emotions she so chooses, so she could just make them view her as this almighty leader. But speaking from her base character's perspective, she's probably a bottom. She's way too kind and caring to not be. Usually you can just tell when someone's submissive based off of their vibe, and Mantis is a prime example, so I'm gonna have to give her bikini bottom. Y'all ever seen that meme with the squirrel who unfortunately has a condom stuck in its rear? That's what I imagine intercourse with Rocket to look like. Rocket was born to be a bottom because there's very limited circumstances where he's not the shortest person in the room. He doesn't even need to get on his knees whenever I'm trying to let Niagara fall. Maybe if Rocket grew a proper pair of nuts and laid some eggs, then he'd be worthy of the top tier. But just like the people who didn't understand that elite ball knowledge, he's gonna have to go in bottom. Now before I talk about Wolverine, I want you to answer me a question. If a big, brawly, almost invincible man were to walk up to you sounding like the embodiment of testosterone itself, what would you depict him as? This man has saved countless lives without even taking a second glance. Homie has survived literal nuclear warfare. If he isn't a top, then I don't know who is. Next up is Lord Adam. When a man has nipples as hard as Adam Warlock's, you know you're in for a rude cake awakening. Men Men like Adam are always alpha tops because they put other people before them. And when you feel like you've been put first, you can't help but to burst. And I know for a fact that there's many men and women alike who do nothing but thirst for the golden god. So he's getting a top. Next up we got Magik. You know, sometimes when I'm sitting in my multi-million-dollar a month golden plated hot tub and applying my illegally obtained lip gloss ripped straight out of a post-beluga whale's asshole, I can't help but wonder to myself, what would it feel like to use Magik's sword in a sensual sounding session? Well, if you ever get into a situation where you and Magik get into a fisty muffs match, then I'm sure you'll find the answer to this. Cause there's not a single chance in hell that this woman is ever stepping foot on the bottom bunk, especially if she enters her infamous demon form. At that point you'd have a higher survival chance sleeping with Diddy. Magik's an easy top. Moon Knight's the type of guy to cry when it slides inside due to how tight and ripe his hind is. He just gives off very kind and polite vibes that strike him as the type of guy who denies a good time with anyone who may catch his eye. But whenever he has tried to coincide by letting someone enter his insides, he never thrives unless he's either fried or on the bottom side, because if neither of these goals reconcile, then he'll pout in denial and be forced to cry. Now I think it's about time I let this rhyme die and glide this respectable guy into the tier of which he best resides. Bottom tier. This is why you should subscribe, because this penmanship is fucking benign. The whore known as Namor is the type of dude to drill you to the floor. He gives off Commander vibes, and I'm not just saying that because he's basically Commando. Just look at the way he flings his octopussies across the room and makes them squirt on you. Not giving Namor a summer skin this season was an absolute airball by NetEase. This dude is the gooner god for all twinks alike. He's going in top. Dude, look at this differential, oh my god. Reed Richards is an easy bloke to read, because the use of his powers wouldn't make any sense to be used in a non-top way. Like he could just go full bouncy ball mode and start bouncing on my red rocket like that one guy who doesn't fucking stop saying thank you. And when a man has a beard as sexually enticing as Reed, you just know they're the type of man to be on top when implanting their seed. So, this cutie's going in top. Psylocke would be an interesting hookup to say the least. This bitch would turn your USB-D into a 5-star chopped up California crunch roll the way she'd be dashing around the bedroom with her blades out. Sharing the bedroom with Psylocke would look like one of those snuff tapes where your meat's getting gilded. The only time it'd be worth getting topped by Psylocke is if she's wearing her infamous gooner skin. In that case, she can turn my little partner into Swiss cheese for all I care. Definite top. Next up is C&D, and you know, I'm getting a little bit tired of ranking Cloak. And let's be honest, Cloak is more of a bottom than your mother. Dagger, on the other hand, must be a fan of Imagine Dragons because she's on top of the world. My apologies, that was kinda ass. I mean, why do you think Dagger's always in front of Cloak in every picture you see of her? Well, sure, it's partially because she's hot as fuck and NetEase knows how to get you goon goblins to invest in their characters, but it's mostly due to the fact that Cloak's just Dagger's little beta dog that she unleashes whenever threatened. Now that I'm reading that bag, it kinda sounds a little bit racist. That is not what I was going for. Dagger's a definite top, unlike your mother. The only thing Iron Man's getting to the top of, however, is the scoreboard after he gets a 100 kill streak from dropping Nagasaki on Earth's lobby. Tony may be a billionaire tech genius with an intellect so great that it outshines the average Rick and Morty lore enthusiast, but you just know at the end of the day he's not putting any effort into the bed sheets. He's lying backside and taking back shots. So due to my remarks about Stark, his spark's gonna have to shine in bottom tier. Frankathy Castle Cooch is a very easy man to rank because we've seen him mash pissers before. In the official show, I've seen him both on the bottom rack and giving the top an attack. I'm almost tempted to create a switch tier if I'm being frank, but I feel like that'd defeat the whole purpose of this very important video. I feel like overall, Frank's born to take control. Unless he's fucking with some devious deity on the DL, then I can see him guiding the sailboat, so Castle's going in top. It's time to talk about the alpha. Bucky Barnes is a beta bussy bashing behemoth of a man whose only purpose in life is to inspire others to be leaders. Back in the day, Bucky used to be a beta, but when he got brainwashed, he turned into a beast who loves bashing his beefstick into bitches with testosterone levels so high that not even Liver King could dream of achieving. I mean, no beta bottom is going to be able to jump 30 feet into the air multiple times over to fist their enemies with so much force that they collapse in euphoria. Only Bucky can do that, and this is why I main this man, because I want him to fist me. Bucky's going in top. Sue Storm, on the other hand, is not a top, because any character whose sole purpose is to go invisible is the biggest pusshole in history. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I used to want to have invisibility when I was younger, so I could spy on my crush without having to rely on the holes I drilled in her wall, but I'm a changed man now. There is nothing alpha about flipping a switch and going invisible. You're just running away, and that's not the energy I want when doing pleasurable activities, so Sue's going in bottom. And finally, we have the hottest video game character in history, right behind Gertrude from Happy Wheels, Luna Snow. Don't let this woman's kawaii-ass powers fool you. Your cheeks will be annihilated upon entering the bedroom with Mrs. Snow. She's about to turn your ass into a human snowman and use your carrot as a stripper pole. But unlike GTA strippers, she's not just gonna move her body in the same exact animation every single time. She's gonna give you a brain freeze. So she's going in top. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up yet another extremely important lesson to be learned. I know it's summer break and all, and y'all are enjoying your time off, but make sure you study today's subject, because there will be a pop queef soon. I mean quiz. Also, tell your mom I said sorry for throwing her so much shade this video. And just like how I'll see her later, I love you schnookies, and I'll see y'all later.